welcome to the Narrowing Path, walking the spiritual walk. My name is Stephen Einstein. Thank y'all for joining me today for the June 15th reading of James Allen's Daily Meditations. Yeah, I, I'm not sure how they could, well, I'm sure there's many ways, I guess, but yesterday's was such an impactful one on me, yes, and just a reminder in so many ways. Because I like to identify with this personality that I create. I want to, I want it to be this way or that way, or like I want to be this unique individual. And so I try to be that, and I end up putting that in the way of doing the right things for the right reasons. And it's an important thing for me to remember. So yesterday's reading about sacrificing your personality, meaning don't cling to your own personality as a defining factor of you. Allow yourself to let that go, and in that freedom you can find growth. And it's a just a magnificent journey you can go on if you're willing to let that go. So, I'm looking for June forward to today's June 15th. It's going to be fresh to me and fresh to you, of course, meaning this will be the first time I read it or see it right on this podcast with you. So you'll get my genuine response, reactions, and observations and what I relate to about the reading. So here we go. This is June 15th reading from James Allen's Daily Meditations. When a man's soul is clouded with selfishness in any or every form, he loses the power of spiritual discrimination and confuses the temporal with the eternal. That's a great line. Men cling to and gratify the flesh as though it were going to last forever, and though they try to forget the nearness and inevitability of its dissolution, the dread of death and the loss of all that they cling to clouds their happiest hours. And with the accumulation of temporal comforts and luxuries, the divinity within men is drugged, and they sink deeper and deeper into materiality, into the perishable life of senses. And where there is sufficient intellect, theories concerning the immortality of the flesh come to be regarded as infallible truths. The perishable in the universe can never become permanent. The permanent can never pass away. That's what we were talking about. That's what I said. That's what I was referring to when I talked about the reading from yesterday. Like uh, what I what happens when I cling to my personality? What happens when I am so self-centered and have this desire to be perceived in a certain way, or to believe I have to be defined by these characteristics that I choose? My selfishness and my self-centeredness is showing. That's me wanting to make it all about me, which is usually my favorite topic, myself. And that's why we have to sacrifice the personality. We have to leave room to become what God intends us to be, or the source or spirit of the universe, or take your pick as the titling you want to use. But this power greater than yourself. It's so good. When a man's soul is clouded with selfishness in any or every form, that I find funny, he loses the power of spiritual discrimination and confuses the temporal with the eternal. Hmm. I like that. I like how we put in there any or every form of selfishness, because there's so many. It can come up in so many ways and so many different actions, thoughts, and um, intentions. And we lose that understanding eventually. We lose that um, perspective eventually. We lose it because we're still being selfish. We aren't able to discriminate anymore on spiritual matters. It can really set us back, and we can really foul things up for ourselves if we find ourselves in this place. And now he ends it with and confuses the temporal for the eternal. So we think we're able to figure this thing out in a sense of um, I know what God wants me to do, or these thoughts in my head are things that I just came up with. They're just in my mind. All right, this is the main body of it. Men cling to and gratify the flesh as though it were going to last forever. And though they try to forget the nearness and inevitability of its dissolution, they dread of death and the loss of all that they cling to clouds their happiest hours. And that's true. That fear of losing things, that fear of being forgotten, that overwhelming desire to selfishly gratify your flesh, as he put it. Sorry, I was looking for the wording that he used. But when we cling to that, those things really get in the way of us living in the present moment, which is really only place where happiness is. Right? We cannot find happiness down the road. We can find excitement, maybe we can find pleasure, but happiness is only found in the moment, not after the fear of losing what you're scared to lose or anything like that. I like how we put in here the dread of death and the loss of all that they cling to clouds their happiest hours. That fear. It's just when fear clouds our judgment, gets into our world, it blocks out that strength, that power, that connection. It blocks out that God of your understanding. He goes on to say, and with the accumulation of temporal comforts and luxuries, the divinity within men is drugged, and they sink deeper and deeper into materiality. Hmm. I think that's where I was for a long time. Buying a lot of things I didn't need to do, things I didn't really want to do. You know, that Tyler Durden quote from Fight Club, right? I can't quote, I don't have it exactly to mind, but it's we work a job we don't want to work to get money to buy things we only buy to impress other people. That's the thing. So we drug our spiritual nature. We put it to sleep. We don't acknowledge it anymore. We think the material world is the only place we need to exist and participate in. That's where we're going to find the happiness. We're told that's where we're going to find comfort, and that's where we're going to find purpose. Is right there. And we'll sing deeper and deeper into this material world. And it goes on into the perishable life of the senses, and where there is sufficient intellect, theories concerning the immortality of the flesh come to be regarded as infallible truths. Mm. Let me read that again. The perishable life of the senses. So after we sink deeper and deeper into the world of the material and into the perishable life of the sentence, where they are sufficient, where there is sufficient intellect, theories concerning the immortality of flesh come to be regarded as infallible truth. So everything gets flipped. Material life gets prioritized, and all these other things about preserving our bodies and living forever. You know, to some extent, that's what a lot of people try to believe. So I like this last part he closed it with, just because it makes it just a very definite answer, and or a definite it's just a definite clear statement. So the perishable in the universe can never become permanent, and the permanent can never pass away. So those fears we have, we need not worry about them at all. We don't need to worry about those fears of not being remembered, those fears of, yeah, being forgotten. We think we have to do something about that. We have to take these actions to make sure our name is known. And that's just pride and ego. That's that thing we cling to gratify the flesh. Such a good reading today. Permanent can never pass away. That power, that source will always be, and we'll always just have to turn to it. But we don't all execute that perfectly. So, all right, well, that'll wrap it up for today for the June 15th reading. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what tomorrow brings. This is another great one, just how we get in our own way from spiritual growth and spiritual progression. So, um, I guess we'll wait till next time. So, until next time, thanks.